Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel of the Top Hat Gaming Man. I am currently still on my travels around the world and I am currently in Oklahoma City. Yeah? Anyway, this is my very underwhelming motel room in which today I am going to answer some Q&A questions I have received from my new patrons, as I have just started up a Patreon account. Regarding my new patrons, I must say I have received many extremely generous donations in order to help push this channel forward. But it's not just the financial contribution in which basically I love, it's the bloody fact that you're willing to donate money for the fact that you enjoy my content so much. That's such a great compliment for me, and I'm overwhelmed by it, quite frankly. Apart from that, I must say as well, whilst talking of patrons, basically it's the equivalent of having a tip jar, I suppose. So you like the channel so much you're willing to give me a tip. It's kind of like going to a restaurant and going to eat a succulent Chinese meal and then enjoying it so bloody much that you leave the waiter a bloody tip. That's what it is. It's not bloody e-begging like you get a few morons comment about. How can it be bloody e-begging? I'm not holding my hand out going, "Oh, please sir, can I have some more?" Which I must say you get a lot of on American street corners. There's bloody tramps everywhere around here. Not at home, you get tramps, but they would never dare ask you for money. It's illegal to beg in England because it's scummy. I agree, begging's a bit wrong. But what this is, I suppose, is e-busking. It's a service, isn't it? It's like on street corners at home, you have someone bloody playing a guitar or singing. If they have their busker's license, you're fine to chuck money in the hat for them. So if you're an American, you'll chuck $1. If you're a European, you'll chuck €1. If you're a Brit, you'll chuck them £1. Yeah! Anyway, with regards to that, we've addressed the positives and we've addressed the negatives. So before we get to the actual Q&A section, I suppose I'd first just like to tell you a little bit more about myself. Everyone seems to have this perception that I am financially a very rich man. Ooh, he's gotta be rich. He has a bloody big games collection and he's bloody travelling around the world. That doesn't make me bloody rich, you fools. That makes me bloody resourceful. I started games collecting back in the year 2002. Back then it was worth absolutely nothing. I used to go around boot sales and I'd pick up so much stuff because I'd get like SNES, Mega Drive, NES games, all 50p each. For you Americans at home, that's about 70 cents a game. So I amassed a large collection from a very young age simply by going to the boot sales. And with regards to now, how am I affording to travel around the world? How am I affording to buy games as I'm travelling around the world? Well, to be frank with you, I bloody remortgaged my bloody house. That's how I'm affording it. I thought I'm bloody 30 years old. I'm a third of the way through my life, so I'm 30. I'll be dead at 90 if I'm lucky, so I better bloody do something with it. So now I've gone out there and I'm exploring the world. With regards to my actual income, I've not got a job, so I'm receiving nothing from that. I will be completely honest with you. You want to know how much I'm getting for ad revenue at the moment? $40, that's it. So $40 plus my Patreon donations, that's all that's going into my bank at the moment. That's it. And I am paying my mortgage at home without even bloody having a tenant in the property at the moment. So I'm not this bloody rich man in which it looks like I have painted this picture out to be. The best way to describe myself is I am not financially rich, but I would describe myself as a very classy man. Well, at least I like to think of myself as a classy man. Hence why I wear the lovely top hat, the lovely jacket, because I'm just very British and very well groomed. Basically, the best way to describe me is if you're into British sitcoms, check up a TV series called Keeping Up Appearances. There's a character on it called Mrs. Bouquet. Basically, she pronounced it Mrs. Bouquet. It's actually her real name is Mrs. Bucket. And her character relates a lot to me. So check that out. If you understand Mrs. Bouquet, you will understand the Top Hat Gaming Man. I feel glad to clarify that with each of you. Now it's on to the Q&A questions. Thank you all again for your support. You are bloody amazing. Right, let's start. First question from ShooterQ64. We have some great Twitter exchanges, by the way. Anyway, Mr. Parliament, how does your wrestling career cross over with your love of gaming? Basically, at home, just to let you know, if you don't already know, I've been an indie wrestler for the last 10 years under the wrestling name Richard Parliament, the wrestling politician. That's basically where this whole look and persona comes from. I've been doing what you call, I suppose, a posh gimmick for a while. But let's answer the question now. How does your wrestling career cross over with your love of gaming? Well, thus far, I have to say not that much. Basically, I earn some money from wrestling and then I spend some of it on games, I suppose. That's the only way it's crossed over so far. So I wrestle for a living and I play games for fun. I suppose one thing I could add, I had a match for TNA Wrestling in 2014 and I actually used the match fee I got. I used that to buy a complete in-box copy of Earthbound. So that's a little story for you regarding gaming and wrestling. Next question from Ian A. Chapman. Did you ever play shareware PC games? If so, any memorable games that come to mind? Now, I have to be honest with you, Mr. Chapman. I've never really been what you consider a PC gamer. Let's go over my history a little bit. In the early 80s, I started out as my first gaming device, a microcomputer, an Amstrad CPC 464. It was a hand-me-down computer from my uncle, and he just gave it to me. I was only like 3 years old or something, so it was great. I remember having fun with lots of games on it, like Who Dares Wins, Electric Freddy, what else can I think of? Arkanoid. It was good fun, but after that, I remember I was about 6 or 7 years old, and again my uncle influenced me once again. He had a bloody SNES and he was bloody playing Street Fighter, and basically I thought, I've got to bloody have one of those. So he lent me his bloody SNES. Then the following Christmas I had a SNES of my own. So we fast forward a few years on after that, 1995, my brother was diagnosed with dyslexia, so my family decided to get a new home computer. So we got a computer with Windows 95 on it. I did play some games on it, but on the whole, I have to admit, I was bloody terrified of the thing. I was constantly told that if I played it, I'd bloody infect it with viruses, I'd break it, all sorts. So basically, I suppose I've not really gamed much on a PC, because back then I was scared of bloody PCs when shareware was around on the whole. So we go back to the 80s again. On the Amstrad, people did used to copy the cassettes and give each other copies, and I did remember having lots of cassettes which were handwritten. So I suppose a lot of my games was technically shareware, but not legal shareware, illegal shareware. Although I'm not a dirty pirate now, so don't go accusing me of that. I would never do anything like that now. Anyway, that's that question answered, I hope. Next question. Jarrett Tolzian. What fighting game franchise is your personal favourite? Again, I have to admit something, Jarrett. I'm absolutely diabolically bad at fighting games. Basically, the reason for it, I've just got no bloody rhythm. We go back to year 5 when I was in primary school. I've recently read one of my school reports, and I'm like, English, amazing, maths, amazing, science, amazing, music. It's stated on there, Richard tries really hard, but Richard has absolutely no rhythm. So that answers your question, why I'm awful at fighting games. But like I said, Street Fighter has a place in my heart. It was my first ever SNES game and actually got me into console gaming in the first place. I loved Tekken for the pick up and play nature, and for the fact it was so easy to unlock characters. That was fun. From a collector's standpoint, you could just build up a character roster so easily. And the one in which I've played the most in the modern day, I suppose the Super Smash Bros. Series. I find that a lot easier for someone who hasn't got any rhythm. The buttons are really simple. It's not like a traditional fighter. So I suppose, to answer your question, what's my favourite? Super Smash Bros. Next question. Jose Rivera. What has been your favourite part of your journey across the USA thus far? There's been lots of places I've liked and lots I've disliked as well, to be honest. But my favourite, that is quite a difficult question because there has been quite a few. So I'll go over a few of the places I've loved. Bryce Canyon in Utah, which I've just released a video on where I reviewed Xenoblade Chronicles, which a lot of you still need to watch, I must say. I reckon a lot of you haven't clicked it because it's not a retro game. But think about it, it's a bloody modern game I like. So it's got to be worth it. So watch my bloody Xenoblade Chronicles review. So yes, Bryce Canyon in Utah, it's amazing. if any of you have been to the Grand Canyon at home, it's like the Grand Canyon, but a lot prettier, a lot quieter, free, and it's just an all-round better experience. It feels a lot more organic, I suppose, where Grand Canyon feels really touristy, whereas Bryce Canyon, on the other hand, it feels like a bit of an unknown entity. So check out Bryce Canyon if you've never been. Next question. Mad Ape Productions. How about what has been your most pleasant surprise about the United States, and what has been your most unpleasant surprise? Again, thank you, Mad Ape. This is, again, a very broad question. And what I plan to do around Christmas sort of time is, after I leave the United States, I'm going to collate all the footage together from all the different places. And I plan on making a little documentary, basically a comical review. Basically, instead of reviewing a game for a change, I'm going to review the bloody country. So take my tongue-in-cheek humour how you will. So let me read this question again. What has been the most pleasant surprise about the United States? Pleasant surprise. I know. The natural beauty overall. There is a lot more unspoilt land here than what you'd find in Europe. For example, you can drive like 7 or 8 hours and come across literally nothing. Just endlessness. So stuff like, again, like I said, Bryce Canyon on Utah, the Grand Canyon, Niagara Falls, Arcadian National Park in Maine. The natural beauty is absolutely spectacular. Like, I reckon a lot of it probably hasn't even changed since prehistoric times, like if you drive through like Nevada deserts and places like that. So that's been the most pleasant surprise, the unspoiledness of it all. Unpleasant. What's been unpleasant? I suppose it's been a bit of a hyperbole. That's the word I was bloody looking for, hyperbole. Basically, America is essentially one big hyperbole. Hyperbole means an exaggerated statement or claim not meant to be taken literally. So basically, that's my problem I've had with America as a Brit. I've grown up watching television shows about America all my life, because no matter where you are in the world, you'll have American television rammed down your throat. So all of you like build up this like image in your mind of what America's all about. And because on television you've presented as this like amazing, magical, wonderful place, I can say as a foreigner visiting over a long period, you can't basically expect to visit and not be slightly let down. Like New York is a great example. It's presented as the Big Apple, and you hear things like New York, it's a wonderful town, and stuff like that, really. But you get there and it's bloody smaller than London. Like, this is meant to be New York. It's a fairy tale sort of thing. It's smaller than London, and compared to most cities, the place has got no bloody history. It hasn't got its own culture. It's just made up of loads of others squashed together. It's only a few hundred years old, so I have to give it a little bit of slack, really. But basically, the magic in which the media interjects into America, it doesn't translate into real life, essentially. Like if you go to bloody Hollywood, it's awful. It's so awful. There's tramps everywhere. There's no glitz or glamour. It's horrible. Chicago, horrible. New York, horrible. Sorry if I'm offending some of you at home. I'm just telling the truth how I found my experiences. So that's it, basically. Like I said, the natural beauty is amazing. The cities and stuff, they're crap, basically. They don't compare to Europe. So basically, in Europe, the natural beauty doesn't match America. And in Europe, basically, the cities and stuff are much nicer. Yeah. So if you want to visit Europe, Americans, go see the architecture, go see the history. It's fantastic that way. Anyway, next question. Who is it from? Andrew Potts. If you were able to place Donald Trump in any game, which one would you choose? I suppose the obvious scenario would be putting him in a game like, I don't know, Sim City or Civilization, something like that, where he can just build basically a massive bloody wall around the town. But I think that's a bit too much of an obvious answer, so I'm going to say, since I've been to South Park recently, and I had myself a time, I'm going to say South Park. What you could do is you could make him like a summon maybe in that game and team him up with the City Walkman, because the City Walkman's always trying to build walls to keep out the bloody Mongolians, so maybe Donald Trump can help the City Walkman keep out the Mongolians. Yeah! So, That's it. I've answered questions from all of you. I've put them forward this time. So, again, if you at home would like to become one of my patrons, then at the end of next month I'll be answering your questions in this video as well. But thank you all of you who've donated so far. It's really appreciated, as I said, and it's been great fun answering your questions. And I hope you have some more for me next month so we can do this all over bloody again. Cheerio, ta-ta, and farewell.